I think for what this team needs under Arne Slot, he might be the most important piece of it. But you wonder if that decision's already kind of been made. The Real Madrid rumors have been out there for a long time. Him and Alphonso Davies maybe making up the fullback positions there in Madrid. But for me, I would be, as not a fan of Liverpool, as a fan of another team, I would be really disappointed if we saw him anywhere else.
Still have some things that we need to talk about that maybe won't make every Liverpool fan too happy, because these three players, well, the core players during this last run for Liverpool, contracts are coming up, and they're going to have to do something about it. Mohamed Salah, everyone knows about that. Trent Alexander-Arnold maybe being courted by other major European sides. Virgil van Dijk, 293 appearances for the club, one of the rocks at the back for Liverpool for so long. But will they re-sign? That's what we're talking about. Welcome back into our studio here for Scoreline. And look, obviously, I think we need to start with Mohamed Salah. And we know his age. And we know that Liverpool doesn't like to sign guys at his age to long-term contracts. But Mohamed Salah is arguably the best player in the world right now. Best form in the world right now. Should Liverpool, or should he accept that offer, whatever it may be, and come back to the club?
Well, whatever it may be is no small detail. We don't know whatever it may be. So if all of a sudden he's saying, I want a 4-year deal or a 5-year deal, we don't know what it is. And for Liverpool, they have to make a decision about how quickly players go down that cliff. And I will say the cautionary tale is this season's Manchester City. Because if we had said at the end of last European club season, who's the best club, who are one of the 3 best clubs in the world, you say Manchester City. Would you say that right now? And all of a sudden we're talking about, oh, look at the age profile of this team. They got old fast. And they were still winning things with players who were that old 6 months ago, and it can just happen in an instant. So I think that's the cautionary tale. But as you said, Mo Salah is great right now. And you cannot really foresee at this moment that in the next 18 months that he's really going to fall off. And if you're paying on the back end of a deal, maybe a player that you don't want, you can still probably find some resale value given the market in Saudi Arabia, given the market in Major League Soccer. You can still probably get a decent amount of money for Mo Salah if it all kind of comes unstuck and he's no longer a player at the very top level. So I think they have to try and figure out a way to get this done, because for Salah, he's just playing so well right now. The statistics, the level of performance, he fits so well in this team. This team does kind of need those dynamic, difference level making players. And I'm not certain that without him that you're finding that level, because Diaz has been great. Gakpo's been great. Jota's been great. The whole team has been great, but they're players that are just different gravy. And Salah has definitely been that, and it continues to be that in this season when they are top of the Premier League, they're top of the Champions League, and look on their way to winning multiple trophies.
If you have a prediction, does he stay or does he go this summer?
I'm going to say that he goes.
Really?
I think that there is that level of difference. There's something for me in the fact that he went to the media in December when he never goes to the media. All of a sudden, hey guys, I'm available. You want to talk about my contract? Great. There's something for me that suggests that there's a level of rift that is unsolvable. So if you made me guess right now, I would say, no, I'm not 100% certain in that guess, but there's for me enough in that, in the way that he's tried to publicly posture and get the fans on his side and get pundits on television going, give him whatever he wants. We have to keep him. But I just think there's something in it for me that suggests that there's a bigger than small divide between these two parties right now. So if you maybe guess right now on this day, I would say that he goes.
I'm one of those pundits saying, pay the man, pay the man, please. I mean, look, it's just because he's a club legend. He has the opportunity, if he stays, to maybe be the best Liverpool player ever. And that is no small statement with all the players that have come through that club. So I think it would be sad to see him go, especially with the level he's at. I would be okay with having a year or two of him, maybe not at that level, if he can bring this level for the next 2 seasons. But we'll have to wait and see. All right, the next player, Virgil van Dijk, the captain of the club, been a rock at the back as well. Started to age a little bit, but still playing very effectively and still bossing that back line for Liverpool. What are your thoughts on Virgil van Dijk staying or going?
Well, for me, I think the biggest thing for him is that I don't think anyone who actually pays attention to Liverpool would, but there's a little bit of an element for me because there was this period when they won the Premier League in 1920, and they were so good for those 2 or 3 years, and they've not quite been title challenge contenders since, that he was talked about in that way that it almost kind of got bored, and there was this kind of thing for a while. Anytime he got beat, it was like, okay, finally it's all coming apart. But I hope that Liverpool fans and the club don't take him for granted. No. That said, you do wonder again, with age, wrong side of 30, if he's going to continue to deliver that level year in and year out. But for the moment, you just don't find these kinds of players anywhere in world football. This kind of used to be a feature of the game, I would say more in the kind of mid-aughts, late aughts, where you had big-time center backs that were characters that you weren't getting through the defense if they were on the pitch that day. And those characters are just hard to find, especially with a certain level of ball-playing ability. I think there are those hard-nosed defenders, but then are they good enough with the ball? Van Dijk is clearly good enough with the ball. He fits perfectly into this team. He has a rock for them at the back. I would hope that of the three, they might kind of recognize that he is the one that most holds their defense together, and the defense has been rock solid this season. So I would hope that he's not taken for granted by this team or this fan base.
I think that there was a moment where after his big knee injury that he suffered, I believe now it was probably 4 years ago, and I think there was a little bit of a drop-off after that injury, but I think he's fully back. And obviously, like you said, wrong side of 30, there's going to be some things that he's not going to be as elite as he once was. Because, I mean, I think at some point, Virgil van Dijk was probably one of the top 5 defenders in the world, if not.
I would say top 1
Top 1. I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
But I do think that within reason, you want to bring someone like that back, someone who's been a rock for this club. That obviously needs to be within reason with that contract.
I guess the biggest thing for them is where you're going to find the next one, right? And you remember the patience that they showed in getting him. They wanted to go for him in January for $75 million, and then there was a negotiation here and there, back and forth, and they didn't get him. And you know what they did? We're not signing another one. We're waiting for him in the summer. They got him eventually from Southampton, and he proved to be worth the wait. Yeah. Who are the center backs like Virgil van Dijk in the world right now that are strong, physical, big, and quick, and have ability on the ball and can organize a defense? It's just not an easy skill set to find out there. I mean, I'm trying to rack my brain for one. A player maybe who has the ceiling to be like that might be Alessandro Buongiorno at Napoli. I think he's a really good center back. Bastoni, I think, fits more in a back 3 than a back 4. There aren't that many great center backs in the world. So they have to covet the one that they have and maybe start to go looking in the next 18 months for an eventual replacement. But for the moment, you have to think about re-signing him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's difficult to, like you said, if you're going to look for someone else of his stature, you also got to go younger, right? Because that's the idea of going somewhere, and that's not easy to find. A younger player with his skill set, it's just not out there. There's not many of them out there. All right, last one. This is probably the most controversial one just because Trent Alexander-Arnold, Liverpool kid, becoming a legend in Liverpool already, has won trophies with his hometown club, maybe the most important player to how they want to play football in Arne Slot's system, but I don't know if he's going to maybe want another challenge. It's an interesting situation with Trent Alexander-Arnold.
No question. And I wonder sometimes, and this happens really in any arena, where if because you came through as a kid at the club, especially when you look at Salah, Van Dijk, and some of these other figures that came from elsewhere, they spent a lot of money, that maybe they're the ones that are valued the most because of what has literally been invested into them. And I wonder if Alexander-Arnold might feel that a little bit taken for granted by the club. But at the same time, I agree with you. I think in the current setup, maybe under Jurgen Klopp it was a different situation, but in the current setup, with the way that I would say right now, Liverpool are the best team in the world at disorganizing defenses, with the quality of their passing, with the movement, with the way that it all works together. I would describe their football as geometric. They know how to play every angle on the pitch. Alexander-Arnold's positioning is slightly different than what you might expect. He kind of plays a little bit more into the inside and is looking for every kind of pass. And you said, he made a great point before the show, he hits 3 or 4 passes a game where you go, wow. And no one else can do that. No one else can do that. And sometimes they're 80-yard switches over long distance to switch the play and completely disorganize the defense. Sometimes they're crosses. Sometimes they're angled passes into attackers and midfielders who then go on to create the game. I think for what this team needs under Arne Slot, he might be the most important piece of it. But you wonder if that decision's already kind of been made. The Real Madrid rumors have been out there for a long time. Him and Alphonso Davies maybe making up the fullback positions there in Madrid. But for me, I would be, as not a fan of Liverpool, as a fan of another team, I would be really disappointed if we saw him anywhere else. Because, like you said, academy kid, it's that kind of story where you can look at his Wikipedia page at the end of his career and see one team next to it. Because of the story of him coming through the club, because of the quality that he brings into that team. He should be in Liverpool red. It would be weird to see him in any other color. And I think he makes this team tick.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And the fact that just the amount of sheer balls that he puts into the box on a game, and every single game, and creates so much danger against the other team. It's unique. It's unique. And no wonder a team like Real Madrid is interested in coming into him. It comes down to him, whether he wants to take that challenge and follow his friend Jude Bellingham and go over to Real Madrid and decide to make that. But it's a tough decision, I think, for him, just because do I want to stay home and continue to become a Liverpool legend, which he already is, but if you leave, there is going to be that difference, right? Where you're not a lifetime Liverpool player.
Well, and let's be honest, obviously, I guess in a bygone era, there was this feeling that if you move somewhere within England, that obviously it is a bigger sin than moving abroad. But right now, with the European nature of the game of the club, Real Madrid is as big of a rival to Liverpool as Manchester City are, because Liverpool are of a quality to go and win Champions League trophies. And so they will be coming up against Real Madrid in the business end of competitions, and obviously that has not gone well for them in the past. So in my view, I think that Trent Alexander-Arnold should be as coveted as anybody, because losing him to Real Madrid would be a big dent in their chance to go win the Champions League. And look, ultimately, you want to keep your hometown kids. These are the kinds of stories that football is based on, that we love in this sport that's different to certainly American sports with the draft system, where you're just kind of told where you're going to go. If you come through a city, you come through an academy, and you're of the club. That's such a great feeling for any fan base. He's one of their own. And so to see him go anywhere else, even, yes, you're not seeing him week in, week out in your domestic league, but you're going to see him in Europe. And I don't think Liverpool fans want to see him in another shirt.
They've played Real Madrid almost every season in Champions League for the last few. So it's interesting. It's going to be an interesting about 6-7 months for Liverpool. Opportunity to win so many trophies. It's kind of the only thing that can derail them. We've talked about this all year. They've been brilliant in every competition. They're dominating. This is the only thing that can slow them down.